My name is Anna Tippling, and I've decided to do my speech on why you should follow the COVID-19 guidelines rather than ignoring them. Throughout the past 4 or 5 months, we've all been affected in some way or another by the same thing. COVID-19 has struck the U.S., and it was in full swing about 4 or 5 months ago. Since then, there have been more deaths, full hospital beds, high demands for equipment, and low inventory in a lot of stores around every store all over the world. Probably more than there have ever been. Things have seemed to slow down. The virus seems like it's not spreading as much, and people have kind of forgotten about it, but it's still there. The media has just kind of stopped focusing on it for a main headline, and it's kind of a sideline. Really, the only way this virus is going to slow down without a vaccination is if, as a society, we understand and follow the guidelines given by health professionals all over the world. Following these guidelines strictly could flatten the curve and contain the exposure of many people around the world until a vaccine is created. The purpose of this speech is to present to you, a member of the society, to understand and what these rules are, and maybe get others around you to do them as well and understand them a little bit more. These rules may save not only your own life, but many other people's lives around you. Finally, before we really get into this speech, it should be known that these guidelines were created for a reason. They're here to help us, not to hurt us. By not following them, it is very serious for some of our elderly members of society and even our youngest cute little babies. By not following these guidelines at all, people can cause even more damage than what has already been done to the population. This is a very serious matter, and I hope that by the end of this, you'll be influenced to follow these. Most of us already know the main guidelines that were given, but some may not. So some of the main guidelines may seem a little bit difficult to incorporate into your life, just because it's not the norm, it's not what we're already used to, but they're a lot easier to incorporate than what many people think. One of the main guidelines to follow is to wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds, says the Red Cross. Many people think that this is just too long to wash your hands for, or they don't wash their hands, which is kind of gross, but it's what some people do. But there are alternatives if you don't want to wash your hands for that time, or you think it takes too long. You can sing a song. Many hospitals have put out different lists of what songs you can sing for that time to make it go by a little bit faster, so it doesn't really even feel like you're doing anything other than singing a song. Another main guideline that a lot of people don't want to follow is wearing a covering over your face. Many people try to avoid this because it's hard to breathe in or it makes them uncomfortable, but the thing that most people forget about is that you don't actually have to just wear a mask. There are many other cloth alternatives, such as bandanas, cloth face masks, and even special ones that have a clasp that go around the base of your neck rather than your ears for people that have discomfort with their ears when they wear regular masks. You, of course, don't need to wear masks when you're at home or while you're hiking a trail in the woods or while driving your car. It's really just important to protect yourselves and the other people around you when you know that you're going to be in a major public area that may have many people in it. These guidelines were created for a reason, to protect us, and when these guidelines are not followed, it can cause a lot more damage than a lot of people think. At the moment, there's sort of a second wave sparking. The California Health Department says there's about 140,000 cases to 18 through 34-year-olds. While there used to be a high number of 35 to 49-year-olds, it has slowly kind of started making its way down to the lower age groups. And this is just in California. That's a very big number, and the reason behind that is because many young people are starting to think it's okay just to start going back to normal because there hasn't been much news of COVID. They're trying to just go back to normal and not follow any of the guidelines, but this is a prime example of why you should. Even if you don't think you're sick, you could still be exposing people by not following these. By ignoring any of these guidelines, it can affect you and anyone around you, even if you don't know them. So following them will not only save your life, but many other people's lives, and just protect a lot of people. And being humans, we like to hop on trends, so if you are a little bit older, or even in the 18 to 34-year-old group, that seems to be spiking again. If you start wearing a mask more, and you start washing your hands or using Germ-X when it's put out, or you start following the little arrows that are given in stores, it'll spread because other people won't want to hop on the trend that you are also going on, because it is slowly starting to become the new normal, even though many people are fighting it. There's a big reason why a lot of these aren't being followed. Many people don't think that they can actually hurt themselves or other by not following them. Everyone gets stuck with the thought, it won't happen to me, it can't happen to me, there's no way that I can get this virus. That's just was what a lot of people think. But it's not a bad thing to try and live a normal life, but it is good to understand and see why some people have decided to follow these guidelines and others haven't. Most people who don't follow these rules don't read up on the news to see what precautions they need to take in stores or while on major city streets, and they become frustrated because they're asked to leave stores or they're asked to wear a mask while walking or working. This makes a lot of people very upset, but it shouldn't. Stores ask you to wear masks now, or to follow the arrows and directions given on aisles so that you can be safe and that you don't end up losing the thought of, it can't happen to me, it won't happen to me. That really seems to be the biggest reason why people don't want to follow the rules, because they can't, or they don't see that every new rule put in place is meant to keep you safe, not ruin your day. And it's important to see from that view and not get frustrated while we are living in this time. It is not normal now at all, but it may be the new normal for a short while. Another very big thing to think about is the people that you are affecting that you don't even know. The elderly is the largest worry at the start, and it still is the largest worry now. Medical Express says that as we age, our lung tissue becomes to stiffen. This means that many elderly people already have breathing issues or are possibly sick with something else. Since it is so difficult to already breathe and have those healthy young lungs, that means that the virus can take over them easily, and it's not an easy recovery for most of the elderly patients. And you wouldn't want to see your own relative or someone you know be on life support from this virus. So by making people aware now of how vulnerable this age group of this population is, it can back up the claim that we need to socially distance from any that are very old or already have underlying conditions on themselves that could make this virus fatal for them. That is another main thing to remember. Another group that a lot of people don't think about are the ones who are young or middle-aged but have other underlying harsh illnesses such as asthma or alpha-1, diabetes, heart problems, pacemakers, and so much else that people just don't even think about. Just because a person doesn't act or look sick doesn't mean that they don't have some sort of underlying condition. It is important to follow these guidelines for the people like this, because they are just as much risk as the elderly group, even though they may be only 18. Since they already have other conditions, it makes it difficult for them to keep fighting COVID, and oftentimes they don't make it if they end up with this virus because of their underlying conditions. Overall, there was a lot of information here. Most of it you've probably already heard or seen over and over again the past few months. There are times to practice these guidelines, and there are times to relax and get away from them. Knowing the difference in doing them will help yourself and so many other people in this country from getting ill or possibly even dying. This is a very serious matter, and I think that more people should start treating it as such. In conclusion, this is a really strange time we are living in, It is very challenging for many people, and it is challenging for many people to follow these guidelines. Hope this was a wake-up call. To understand and see the damage that you or other people may be doing to so many different lives by not doing something as simple as wearing a mask for 30 minutes while you shop. Spread more health, not more the virus.